Obviously, if you have questions, especially moving forward, if you have questions for Tim, we're more than happy to ask him too. And you can do that on Twitter at Andy_Baskin, or you can hit us on the Newsnet 5 Twitter feed, or you can hit us on Facebook. Of course, you can just use the hashtag #DogsOnTheRun on Twitter as well. So all of those things are in play, and we love the fact that Tim is on this show. Outstanding perspective on what the Browns have been able to do, especially with the way the quarterback story has played out so far this season. I don't think there are very many people that thought we were going to be heading into this game against Tennessee, and I think a lot of people thought Johnny Manziel would be the starting quarterback for the Browns by now. But Brian Hoyer has done everything possible to keep the job, hang on to the job, and excel at the job. And I dare you to tell me, unless you want to talk about an offensive lineman, tell me who the MVP of the offense is, and you have to answer that question with the answer Brian Hoyer. All right, let's get a perspective on the Ravens, who are now 3-1 on the season, and we go to our good friend Garrett Downing from BaltimoreRavens.com. How are you, Garrett? How are you?
I'm doing great, Andy. How are you doing?
Good. Give me your assessment of the Ravens from yesterday and thoughts on what's going on in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was as good as I've seen the Ravens look really since they had a Week 16 game against the New York Giants the year they won the Super Bowl, where they blew them out. That kind of propelled them on that Super Bowl run. This was as dominating of a win as I've seen since then. They didn't have any games like it last year. And really, yesterday was the Steve Smith show for the Ravens. He had 139 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns against his former team, so he got a little redemption, a little vindication, and that's really that was the big story coming out of yesterday's win.
I think for me, again, it kind of softens the blow a little bit for Joe Hayden and the game that he had against Steve Smith, because the fact that that the Browns have seen 3 really, really good wide receivers, and Joe has been asked to cover these guys week in and week out. I think, again, it shows you how good he is, and maybe you can downplay just a little bit of what how Joe played against the Ravens as well.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Hayden's not the only one who's had a tough time covering Steve Smith. I mean, he's second in the NFL in receiving yards right now. I know he's 35 years old, and people had a lot of questions when he signed here, how much does this guy have left in the tank? But he's come out this season and been one of the best wide receivers, not just in the AFC North, but in the entire NFL. He's got 429 receiving yards the first 4 games. So this guy's proven that he can still play. And, for Joe Hayden covering him, that's a tough task. The Ravens were also doing a lot of stuff to try to, some legal pick plays and stuff like that to try to, get Joe Hayden out of the mix and make it life hard for him out there covering Steve Smith.
When Steve Smith has a great game, that means Joe Flacco's had a great game too. Joe throwing for 327 yards yesterday. As this season progresses for Joe Flacco, his confidence and the confidence in the team as well, outside of all the issues that are going on with the Ravens.
Yeah, Joe Flacco is kind of crazy. I mean, yesterday, Steve Smith draws all the headlines, all of the attention, but Flacco had his historically good day. He had the best QB rating, I believe, in Ravens franchise history yesterday. He was lights out. When he has time to throw, he can pick apart a defense, so that's what he did yesterday. I mean, this guy can be hot and cold, but when he's hot, he is one of the best passers in the NFL. We've seen that before. That's what happened when the Ravens won the Super Bowl. He went on a run that was a historic kind of a run. And when he's on the money, he'll pick you apart. And that's what he did yesterday, and that's what he can do when he has time to throw.
And a good balance with the running game again yesterday with Talaferro and Forsett. I mean, just enough balance there to make you think twice when you're a defense.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Ravens so far this season, it's a model of Gary Kubiak's system. They have a run-pass balance. They use the play action off of the run. They use that run to set up the pass. And no matter who's carrying the football, the Ravens are having success running the ball. I mean, if you had said several months ago that at this point of the season there would be no Ray Rice, Bernard Pierce would have not played the last 2 games, and the leading rushers would be Justin Forsett, who had 6 carries last season, and Lorenzo Talaferro, a 4th-round rookie from Coastal Carolina, people would have thought the running game would probably be in shambles, really, because those guys were unproven and hadn't done it. And so the fact that the Ravens had as much success as they had on offense and with the ground game really is a testament to Gary Kubiak's system. Whoever they plug in there in that system, they've had success all the way back when he was a coordinator in Denver. This guy knows how to build running offenses, and that's what he's done here in Baltimore.
All right, Garrett, last question for you. At Indianapolis next week for the Ravens, and this has got to be one of those games. If you're the Ravens, you're saying, all right, we're going to Indy, and we're really going to see how good we are, and then we can think about Cincinnati down the road.
Yeah, this is one of those kind of measuring stick games in my mind. Indy's coming off a pair of really impressive wins where they've put up over 40 points. You're playing on the road. This is only the second road game of the year. When the Ravens, of course, the only other road game was there in Cleveland, and that came down to the wire. So I think this is a good measuring stick. Where is this team? Andrew Luck's looking like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, certainly, through the early part of this season. So it's going to be a tough game. I mean, the Ravens opened as 3-point underdogs. And I think we'll know a lot more about this team come next Monday morning once we see how they do on the road.
All right, Garrett, thank you very much. We will talk to you soon. Always appreciate it, and we'll read you at ravens.com as well. Thanks, Garrett.
All right, Baskin, thanks, man.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Garrett Downing does a great job. He actually used to work here at Channel 5 at one point, did an outstanding job on our web staff here for Newsnet 5, and then has moved on to Baltimore and a proud graduate of The Ohio University. Is that the best way to put it? As a Kent Stater over there?
Yes.
Just drop the state. You'll be happy to say that. All right, let's bring in a guy that is a big fan of the Ohio State University, and that's Kenny Rhoda. All right, Kenny, I left you with the question when I left. Last time I said, where will the Browns be after 10 games before they get Josh Gordon back? And where will they be?
I'm looking at them being either 4-6, 5-5. They've got to show that they can win those close games. The schedule is very favorable to them as they head into these next number of games, 7 games before Josh Gordon comes back. So if things go well and they make plays at the end of the game, they tighten up their special teams, the run defense, I don't foresee them being a run-stopping defense where they only give up 80 yards per game, but you can't give up $150 every game. If they can knock 30 to 40 yards off that total moving forward, okay, and shore up the special teams, then they could be 5-5 after 10 games. If they're still struggling on the special teams with field goals and punt coverage, punt returns and that, and the run defense is still Swiss cheese-like, then you're looking at 4-6 going into that game, getting Josh Gordon back in game number 11.
All right, Kenny, I asked you this at the beginning of the show, and I'll ask you this again. Your confidence level in the Browns now heading in past the bye week?
It's risen for me. It's on the way up. I like what I'm seeing, the fact that they're in games, and I heard Tim talking about this with you there when you were talking with Tim Couch. They're in games. They're having a chance to win games. Now they have to find a way to win those games and not just be close and be satisfied. I mentioned last week that I think for a team that was as bad as they were last year, you can have moral victories, but only to a certain point. At some point this season, you deal away with the moral victories. They will not admit it, Andy, over in Berea, that there are moral victories for bad football teams and for the Browns right now, but they do have to be happy with the way they played through the first 3 weeks without Josh Gordon being in those games and each game being decided by a field goal. Moral victories, yes, but at some point, as Coach Pettine has said, in the past, this is a win-lose league. This is a pass-fail league, and you have to start passing more than you fail. And so I feel this team is headed in the right direction with the talent that they have. The coaching staff is still a question mark, but Kyle Shanahan and Brian Hoyer seem to be getting on the same page, which is a good thing, and that Johnny Manziel thing is in the far, far background. It's not a topic that we're discussing. While I was away and you were talking with Tim Couch, I took the survey at newsnet5.com about who, it's still up there, who should be the starting quarterback, and it was good to see that my answer, Brian Hoyer, was 94%. Number one, that was the number one answer. 94% of the people said that. So for me, it's good that the quarterback situation has been figured out, because I think during this bye week, a lot of us felt they would reevaluate and decide maybe this would be the time to go with Johnny Manziel, especially with the way Teddy Bridgewater played and Blake Bortles yesterday. But I don't think that's the case. Hoyer's your quarterback, and you move forward with him and Brian Shanahan being on the same page.
All right, Kenny, before I let you go, I do want to talk a little Ohio State with you. Big Ten opener, Maryland. Can you feel it? You feeling the Big Ten love right there?
No, not at all. I mean, I get it. It's a business decision, and the TV homes that they're going to reach and everything for recruiting, and hopefully that'll help make the Big Ten overall a better football conference in NCAA Division I, FBCS, or whatever the hell they call this thing nowadays. But, I mean, if you wanted to better the Big Ten and be up there with the SEC, you don't bring in Rutgers and you don't bring in Maryland. Maryland may help in basketball, but that's it. And the exposure, yeah, it's great, but you're the Big Ten, damn it. You're going to get exposure no matter, who you bring in. So why not bring in better football/basketball teams to make it a better conference, especially now that you've got to deal with a playoff system and you're one of the Power 5 conferences. This just hurts the overall schedule rank of the Big Ten because Rutgers and Maryland are now in the Big Ten.
All right, I'll put it to you this way, Kenny. It's about Manziel. It is. Because you're in the biggest TV markets in the country when you pick up Rutgers and you pick up Maryland. It's about dollars per household. It's about
It's great, but it's not going to help their football teams as far as the competition and being able to beat an SEC team in the 4-team playoff or in most of the bowl games if you don't go to the playoffs. To me, that's where the Big Ten and Jim Delaney is failing miserably. It's about the teams they've added, and they're going to make money, to me, no matter who they would have added. And I would have went out and tried to get Texas A&M or Missouri or something and make this a better football conference. And I think they dropped the ball big time, but that's all right. They'll just go cash their checks at the bank. And, hopefully my son maybe in his final semester will be able to pick up a scholarship or something thanks to Maryland and Rutgers TV money coming in.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Kenny. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll talk to you on the radio later this week. Woo, Kenny's out of there quick. All right, Kenny Rodu joins us every week here on Dogs on the Run as well. Again, it's a bye-week edition of Dogs on the Run. We're going to clean house here, and then we're going to call it a day. Eric, the referee, we still on board with Steelers Gab?
We're trying
Matt
to get him
Lodi?
here. He keeps
He's coming
calling
up. So we got two more guests we're going to bring in. Is Roger in too today?
Roger's in.
Roger's in too. So Roger Chenwa, former Brown, is going to join us as well. All right, let's go. And he looks like he's in a police lineup this morning, just a little bit. Yeah, at least he can laugh about that. There you go. Matt Loney, SteelersGab.com. Hello, Matthew.
Andrew, good morning. How are you?
All right, I'm just curious what your Twitter timeline looked like yesterday when the Steelers lost.
Despair, a lot of upset fans, obviously, a lot of hashtag fire Mike Tomlin, fire Todd Haley, fire the city of Pittsburgh, I guess. I don't know. It was, it really just goes to show you. I mean, the NFL is a week-by-week business. You come off the win after the Carolina game a week ago, and they look so good running the football. Defensively, they look good. And then yesterday they lay what could be perceived maybe the biggest egg of the season against the Tampa team that a week ago gave up 56 points. So it's a week-by-week business. I think we're seeing that this is a very average, maybe 8-8, maybe 9-7, maybe 7-9 football team. And, they've had good halves, like the first half against the Browns and maybe even part of that game yesterday. But then they've had some very bad halves, including the third and fourth quarters yesterday in which they couldn't really do much against, again, a Tampa team that was kind of reeling a little bit.
Matt, I don't know how, if you're a Steelers fan, you could be shocked by yesterday. I mean, look, you're a field goal away from barely beating the Browns.
Right. Yeah, and, Andy, again, you got to look at it from the standpoint of this is an 8-8 team the last 2 years. They have made some upgrades defensively, but let's be honest, they've been hit pretty quickly by the injury bug. That's why they had to go out and get James Harrison. Ike Taylor's probably going to miss a majority of the season. Ryan Shazier, who had played pretty well, the former Buckeye, also is out with a sprained MCL. And Jarvis Jones, the former first-round pick from a year ago, is also out with after having wrist surgery. So, this is a beat-up defense, and Mike Glennon in Tampa Bay did a very nice job yesterday of taking advantage of it. Special teams didn't help. They had a 36-yard punt that really gave Tampa Bay the ball at the 46-yard line with 40 seconds left, and 2 plays later they won the football game. So, again, I'm not stunned. I shouldn't say that. I'm a little stunned they lost to Tampa Bay at home. If it would have been on the road, I would not be stunned at all. With that being said, they play a Jacksonville team next week that played okay in San Diego yesterday. They have a new look with Blake Bortles, and they'll try to get back on track. I did see them. I'm not going to lie. I did think after the Carolina game, the Steelers would come here in 2 weeks at 4-1, but obviously now that's not going to happen.
If you're Howard Hanna, are you calling Todd Haley this morning saying, hey, we can really help you out with a good real estate agent?
Well, listen, I want to look at this from this perspective. They scored 24 points yesterday. They scored 39 the week before. I'm not saying I'm a Todd Haley supporter, but I'm also saying, why is Dick LeBeau get a free pass? I know he's a Hall of Famer. I know he was, he's beloved by that defense, but that defense just didn't get it done. I mean, why are you not running different schemes and blitzes on those last couple drives that Tampa have in order to try to hold the fort down? I mean, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Heath Miller, and Ben Roethlisberger all played well yesterday. You don't really have a whole lot of other weapons on that offense. You can throw in a LeGarrette Blount or a Marcus Wheaton. I don't know. To me, Andy, I think if you're take it from the Browns' perspective, if you're scoring 24 points, 39 points, you're probably pretty happy. And I think if you're the Steelers, I don't know what more, I guess you could say, you should get out of that offense right now.
It's historic numbers for Browns fans to see this many points this early in the season. 69 was the last time they scored this many points in the first 3 games. So I think there's some definite optimism. I'm going to do it. The Browns can't do it, but I'm looking past it. I said after the Browns lost to the Steelers in Week 1, I cannot wait until the Steelers come to the Browns, because you're going to see exactly how much improvement the Browns have made and really what they're all about, minus Josh Gordon, when the Steelers come here to Cleveland.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a real interesting game. The Browns are going to have a vendetta. That place is going to be just insane. I mean, let's be honest. There's probably going to be more. There's probably going to be more fighting between the crowd than there is on the field. But what you hate to see, but that's just how this rivalry goes. And you know, listen, if you're the Browns, you look at it like you missed an opportunity a couple weeks ago. If you're the Steelers, you look at it like you didn't put your foot on their throat when you should have. So I think it's going to make for a very intriguing game. Again, the Steelers played well on the road a week ago. They've got to go on the road this week. I know they won't look past Jacksonville after what happened yesterday. So I think it makes for a real interesting matchup. We'll see where the injuries are when it all plays out. And, you know, the Steelers have historically come to Cleveland and played pretty well. So we'll see how they come out, if it comes out a little differently the next time around.
Matt Lodi, thank you. We'll talk to you next week. And
okay.
Enjoy your timeline on Twitter. Enjoy it. SteelersGab.com. He is Matt Lodi. He joins us every week here on Dogs on the Run as well. All right, we're going to start to wind down the show here a little bit. One more guest to go. Again, we invite you each and every week, and it's a bye week, so we're kind of relaxed around here. Andre Knott is normally with us. Andre has the week off this week, so we're just kind of taking it in, having a little bit of fun with you this morning. If you still have any phone calls in our last 9 minutes here, 216-431-3820, 216-431-3820. You can Skype in at Dogs on the Run as well. So we're going to wind it down here. I want to bring in a good friend of the show, Roger Chenois, who's been standing by here on Skype. We'll get to him in 1 second. Former Browns player, was with the team early on when they came back in 1999. Really just a great guy. Still lives here in Northeast Ohio. It is interesting to see the retention rate of guys that play for the Browns that decide they want to stay here in Northeast Ohio, especially when you compare them to the other teams in town. It's nothing against the, Cavalier fans, or Cavaliers, most of them have houses here because they're here during the winter. They're here for a long season. But it is interesting to see the Browns players that decide to stay here in town and want to live here and be a part of our community long after they've taken their last snap over at Brown Stadium. So if we get a hold of Roger, we'll get a hold of him. Hopefully we will. If not, you can give us a call at 216-431-3820. And I'll ask you the question again, and I'm sure we will talk about it down the road. But the Browns, the upcoming schedule here, you've got the Titans next week, which I think after watching Tennessee play last week, I think a lot of Browns fans are saying, you know what, they can go down to Tennessee and they can win this game. And I hope they do. All right, let's go to Skype 2. We'll go talk to our good friend, Roger Chenois. Hi, Roger. How are you? You look great.
I'm doing good. How about yourself, Andy?
I'm hanging in. All right, I want to know what you think of the Browns through the first 3 weeks of the season. Still there?
Offense have been playing. I mean, who would have thought at this point that we would be ranked 13th in the league on offense? I mean, that's the last thing I would have thought at the start of the season. So I am very excited about that. A little leery of how the defense has been playing, but, I'm optimistic that that'll come around.
Roger, how do you stop the run? What does this defense need to do?
I think stopping the run is something that's more of an attitude type thing. I mean, we always talk about football being 80% mental, and I just think that there's a certain level of swagger that I've always seen in defenses that's been successful at shutting down the run. I'm not saying that we don't have that, but that's what I've seen in the past.
Where does that swagger come from? Because I was talking to Bubba Baker the other night, and when you've got guys that are high draft picks that aren't getting to the quarterback, I think that's part of the swagger. I think Dante Whitner has swagger. I think when Joe Hayden feels confident for 90% of the game and then gets, when you get burned on the 10%, I think that that cuts into your confidence a little bit. But there are guys on this defense, Carlos Dansby too, that have the attitude I think you're talking about. But how do you get everybody to get in on the same page on that?
Well, I think it's just like anything in life. If we start having some success on it, then you'll see the attitudes of everybody else around them get better and get stronger. How to make it happen, I don't think it's something that you can make happen as a outsider or as a coach. This is something that the players have to come together and make a decision that they're not going to take it anymore.
Roger, let's talk about the offense. I think of all the stories that we've seen so far, Brian Hoyer's ability to come back from ACL injury and lead this team to really good numbers offensively through the first 3 weeks of the season with a wide receiving core that I don't think anybody expected anything out of. He has been the MVP through 3 weeks.
Absolutely. I am very happy with the way Brian's been playing. I was one of his biggest fans as we were going through the preseason because I really thought that he was the best option. Nothing against Manziel. I think he has some skills and attributes that are favorable, but I have always liked Brian, and I think with him being in the position that he's in, making the decisions that he makes, making them quickly, and not putting us in a bad situation on a regular basis has made a tremendous difference in the way the team has been performing.
All right, Roger, last question for you. How are you feeling? You, to me, my man, are a miracle to be able to go through pancreatic cancer and be with us today. And I love talking to you. I love seeing your face because you're an inspiration to me, and I think you're an inspiration to a lot of people, too.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I tell everybody I'm happy to be seen when people say that it's good to see me. God's really blessed through this whole situation, and my last scan came up showing no signs of any tumors in my body. So I thank God for that, and I know it's a miracle. I'm right there with you, and I try and share with everybody that I can what God has done.
Roger, thank you. Always a blessing to talk to you. Hopefully we'll talk to you next week after the Browns play the Titans.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. Roger Shenbaugh.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Great guy and really just an amazing story beyond football as well. All right, let's go to Betty in Fairport Harbor. Is Betty ready to go? All right, Betty. Hi, Betty.
Are the Browns ready to go next week?
I think they're ready to go. They had a couple days off this weekend. I didn't hear Johnny Manziel was at the A&M game, and that was it, right, Eric? I didn't miss any other stories about Johnny Manziel, just at the A&M game. No Swan pictures, nothing. I mean, Johnny had a very clean weekend. And he was in Texas. Spent the whole weekend at church and went to one football game.
Good for him. That's great.
What do you got for us, Betty?
Well, I didn't talk with him. I'm still waiting for my T-shirt.
You're waiting for your T-shirt.
Yeah, so now I'm going to need about 6 of them.
Yeah, you need to call and ask for Dave in the newsroom.
I did.
Do you need the number for the newsroom?
I got it, but I left a message.
You have it?
No one answered.
No one answered? You need to call back. Call the newsroom again.
Well, there was a recording.
What?
So
a recording? There are live human beings in there every week. You tell them you want to talk to Dave. Well, you want to talk to Dave, the acting news director. And you tell him you want T-shirts from this show. Ridiculous. How many were you looking for?
I better have 6 by now.
6? 6 shirts? Betty, come on. A little bit of order there, isn't it?
Everybody's going to get jealous once I start wearing it.
Betty, are you giving these out as Christmas presents? Is that what you're trying to do? Trying to skimp a little on the Christmas gifts?
No, I'm going to ask for the sweatshirts.
Sweatsuits, nice. All right, Betty, did you have a Browns question for us today or no?
No, I didn't.
All right,
I think we're going to take it next week.
We're taking it next week. We're going. Arf, arf, arf. Here we go, Browns. All right, let's try to get you some T-shirts. Again, ask for Dave in the newsroom.
Okay, get it.
He'll take care of you. Thanks, Betty.
Go Browns.
What a great way to end the show. Calling out Spastic Dave. Love it. Outstanding. Eric, good job today. Thank you. Well done. We got a minute. I'll take it to 8:30. We got a minute and 15 seconds. Thoughts on today's show, my friend?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, you're the only Eric here. Eric, the referee, aren't you?
Yes. No, I thought it was a good show. It's good to actually get back into playing and actually having a game to react to instead of just talking about the same thing for
Let me tell you how great this show was today. At one point, the question was asked on Twitter, what do you think of Andy's haircut?
Well, what do you think?
For me, it's too short. I don't like it. Any other?
No, I think if the Browns can beat the Titans.
So here we go. Hang on a second. Jeff Green says Andy needs to take it from a 1 to a 3 or a 4 on the sides. I agree. It's too short on sides. It makes I'm lucky to have hair at my age because I have a lot of friends that don't have hair, especially my good friend Jeff Phelps. But it's just, man, I have so much.
I know you got more hair
here.
than me.
So much. Let's see what else.
You got more hair than Spastic Dave.
Spastic. What? Yeah, please. I'm trying to think of other things. Man, Saucy Old Mare does not miss a beat. She heard me talking about coaching hockey over the weekend. Whew. She wanted to talk Indians today. You know, I would love to talk Indians on the show. Again, call Spastic Dave in the newsroom. He's the one that won't let us talk Indians, right?
Yes.
On a show with no rules, he makes up rules.
Yes.
Hair is a little short, Karen B. All over me. People just like nothing better to do with their time. They want to make fun of my hair. All right. Oh, my God. We're overtime already, aren't we? Goodbye, Eric.
See ya.
All right. I want to thank everybody for watching today. Again, next week we'll talk Browns-Titans, and we're looking forward to having you on the show. It is Dogs on the Run. It is the show with no rules. Thank you, Tubby, for making sure we do that. We will talk to you soon. Be a hero, be a real hero, be an Oregon donor, lifebank.org. Goodbye. See ya.